Darkest Blood, Chapter 1, Red Eyes, Part 5. Evan left the castle before daybreak. Unnoticed, he slipped past the guards, climbed over ladders and crates to scale the wall enclosing the courtyard, landing on the other side with a swift jump. Thanks to the demonic part of his blood, a human would have shattered countless bones attempting such a leap, but his body could handle jumps from such heights. Vermeer's voice echoed in the darkness.
"The Sird's leaving us."
Startled, the half-demon turned to face him.
Mary, right.
She has described your departure in great detail, as well as Yale's cape overall. Remarkable, but only half as remarkable as you battled with the hints.
The blessing and the curse, I would say. What do you want? Has the Lord ordered my execution?
No. You are leaving us without your payment.
My payment? His wife is dead, so a payment's void.
The order was to drive away the ghost, and you have fulfilled that order. The Lord is man of honor. He keeps his promises.
Really? Wasn't his plan to have me executed anyway? Be what as it may, the horse belongs to Leuven. Give it to him so he can move on.
We will, but you should also be rewarded.
I don't need a reward. I simply slip away quietly.
As you wish. We will leave the horse for Sir Leuven.
Farewell, the mare. Take care of the Lord. He will need your services. I hope he will soon return to the castle.
I will take care of the Lord.
Evan nodded with satisfaction.
Farewell, sir.
Vermeer crossed his arms behind his back and turned to leave. Then he paused briefly.
Oh, I almost forgot. Madame de Bourgh gave me this letter for you.
The chamberlain handed it to Evan. Baffled, he looked at the piece of parchment and tucked it away.
Thank you.
Vermeer bowed and departed. For a moment, the half-demon watched him thoughtfully and ultimately disappeared into the darkness. After hours of wandering, the sun was already at its zenith when Evan took a break by a stream. It was a warm autumn day, and gentle ripples formed in the crystal-clear water. It was quiet, with only the falling leaves of deciduous trees and the faint breeze playing a gentle tune. Evan had chosen a spot not far from the road. The rest would be brief, a short breather, a few minutes to relax, nothing more. He sat down in the yellow-green grass and examined the letter in his hand. Evan unfolded the parchment and read it attentively. A smile played on his face. He placed the letter in his satchel and leaned back. The sun dazzled him. The stream sparkled like 1,000 stars in the night. He rarely allowed himself such a moment of peace. When he wasn't on the move, he sought solitude in old ruins or caves, far away from those who might pursue him. He sighed. This moment relaxed him, but he knew it was short-lived. After Evan rose and brushed the leaves and grass from his pants, he heard a whistle in the distance. A small hill led to the sandy road, riddled with potholes. From afar, he recognized the wagon, approaching directly toward him. Leuven jumped off the driver's seat with a broad grin when he reached the half-demon, causing his entire wagon to wobble.
Ha! I finally caught up with you.
Yeah, the question is, why are you doing this?
I offered to take you to Ramsburg, and that offer still stands.
After all that has happened, you still want to take me with you?
Of course. You saved my life. It's the least I can do for you.
I may have saved your life, but you saw who I am, what I am.
A half-demon. I knew it already. No, don't look at me like that. I told you I would take you to the capital. And I keep my promises. Hey, look at the that got in your house. Isn't she a beauty? They call him a sweet chestnut. Did you know of it?
Leuven said, stroking the mane of his mare.
I did.
Unlike my old girl, she's in the prime of her life. With her, we'll reach Ramsburg in no time.
Evan scrutinized the horse closely. Indeed, she was well kept, but he expected nothing less from a noble. Moreover, it seemed Vermeer had been a diligent person. Even if he wasn't the stable boy, the chamberlain had surely taken good care of the horses, even if it wasn't his primary duty.
Do you have a name for her?
A name? What didn't you like about girl?
Girl is not a main. Such a creature needs a proper name.
Is that so? How about Susie?
Oh, not at all.
Gertrude?
No.
Georgina?
Stop it.
Evan tossed his bag onto the driver's seat and climbed on.
To Ramensburg, and then our paths will part for good.
Leuven looked at him forlornly but kept quiet. The wagon swayed as he also climbed onto the driver's seat.
I never thought the Lord would reward us.
You did your job. Nothing more was required. As a lord, he must stand by his word. It's an unwritten law.
And do you have knowledge of that?
Everyone knows that.
Evan gave the young merchant an intense look. Before Leuven took the reins, his expression turned sour.
I still don't fully understand what happened. I had a terrible dream.
You really don't know what happened?
No, I had a dream about something that happened years ago. Something I had actually repressed.
The hints had crept into your dreams. He wanted to feed on your fears just as he did with everyone else in the castle.
Really? It was truly terrifying. I had hoped to have a good night's sleep for once, but it didn't happen.
He took the reins firmly.
Well, we have a long journey ahead.
The young merchant urged the mare, which immediately began to move. Evan pushed aside the wagon's tarp and squeezed inside. He settled between two old crates.
You don't need to hide.
But I haven't slept for days, so I close my eyes for a few hours. Besides, I don't like traveling and doing day.
Why not?
Royal patrols, demon hunters, angry peasants, pitchforks. Take your pick. How's the Lord doing, by the way?
Evan asked, although he already knew the answer. More importantly, he was interested in whether he had to fear being pursued by the Lord's guards.
Oh, I haven't seen him since last night. Nobody has. But you can hear the railing from his room. It's terrible. I can't even imagine how he must be feeling.
I can imagine. I had hoped to do more.
No one could have foreseen what would happen.
Not even Marie, it seems.
Oh, by the way, Marie. She also made a swift departure. The mayor told me she collected her pay and left the courtyard just before dawn.
That was probably for the best.
Leuven fell silent. The wagon's wheels rattled on the uneven terrain. Their path led north, but for now they followed the road toward the shining sun. Lord Dancker sat alone at his massive desk. In front of him was a jug of wine, and his face bore the marks of tears and despair. He stared at the papers scattered messily before him. Grief held him tightly, and the wine in his jug couldn't dull the pain. A soft knock on the door startled him from his somber thoughts. The door opened and Vermeer entered quietly. His face mirrored concern as he observed his master's shattered state.
My lord, is there anything I can do for you?
Lord Dancker, visibly inebriated, looked up, his eyes red with sorrow and tears. He gazed at the empty papers before him, muttering to himself.
This damn half-demon. It's his fault, Vermeer. He brought misfortune to my beloved wife and drove her to death. I should have him and that rich pursuit. Ray must pay for their deeds.
Vermeer attempted to console his lord as he approached the desk.
My lord, I understand your pain, but consider that he saved us from a demon. Let us think and then act.
Lord Dancker vacillated between anger and grief. He searched Vermeer's face for a glimmer of hope.
You're right, Vermeer. I must not be led by my emotions. But this debt will not go unpaid.
The two men shared a moment of silence, in which the weight of the moment hung between them. Lord Dancker looked at his empty jug.
There, Mayor. Could you fetch me more wine? I'm afraid I need it to numb the pain.
Vermeer nodded sympathetically and placed a bottle he had already held in his hand on the Lord's desk. Lord Dancker took the bottle, uncorked it, and poured himself a generous measure of wine. He downed it without hesitation, as if trying to drown his bitter thoughts and grief with every sip. Vermeer stood there silently, watching his lord. With a wild gesture, Lord Dancker slammed his fist on the table, and the dull thud echoed through the room. He emphasized his confusion and frustration, speaking with a raised voice.
I just can't fathom how this could have happened. Why a demon would haunt our castle, kill my beloved wife, and inflict all the suffering upon me. It makes no sense. Vermeer, no sense.
His words were filled with despair as he cursed the dark secrets and inexplicable events that had befallen his life. Vermeer hesitated for a moment before speaking calmly.
I fear your wife committed a terrible deed and had to be held accountable for her actions.
The words of the Chamberlain hit Lord Dancker like an icy gust of wind. At first he was perplexed, and then a raging anger overtook him.
What do you dare to claim, Dancker? That my wife is to blame for all of this misery? How dare you say such a thing?
She received what she deserved, my lord. Just as you deserve the pain you are currently enduring.
The words of the Chamberlain ignited the flames of Lord Dancker's rage. He shouted at Vermeer, his face contorted in anger.
You dare to stand against me and condemn my wife? You miserable fool. You will face the consequences of your words.
Lord Dancker rose from his desk and stormed toward Vermeer, ready to unleash his anger on him. Suddenly, in the midst of his fury, he stopped in his tracks, clutching his throat. A sharp pain coursed through his neck, and he felt the air escape from his lungs. His eyes widened, and panic filled his face as he looked at Vermeer. The Lord dropped to his knees, gasping for air and struggling to breathe. His face grew pale, and he could barely utter words. Amid his labored breaths, he asked Vermeer,
What have you done?
Vermeer gazed at the suffering lord with a stoic expression, devoid of remorse but filled with cold determination. Vermeer's body began to tremble, and his form changed before Dancker's eyes. In place of the Chamberlain stood a shrouded, enigmatic figure, cloaked in darkness. Lord Dancker stared in increasing horror at this apparition, his wheezing and gasping growing more desperate. His eyes were filled with terror. The shrouded figure silently moved to the desk and took the bottle of wine. Meanwhile, the Lord collapsed onto the ground. Foam formed at his mouth, and his convulsions grew weaker until he lay still. The enigmatic figure said,
You are no longer of use to me. I know I must stand Evan Dawn's capabilities. You have done me a great service.
Life left Dancker's eyes, and his final breath filled his lungs as the enigmatic figure left the room, leaving him in solitary darkness.